This is the extracurricular meeting on December 5th. It's 7:08 p.m. This is Tanya Bell. Ms. Albright is present, Ms. Leone, Mr. Scott, Ms. Schmidt, Dr. Cooper, and Mr. Hurley are present. We're going to start with a winter sports update.
High school sports have started out already competing. Spring will start tomorrow. They will last team out. Trend numbers I have here for the Extracurricular Committee. Everything is holding steady from last year. Swimming's down a little bit, but that was expected. Middle school, one of the highlights, well, I don't know if the highlight or a little light. We had 40 kids try out for boys basketball, which is awesome, but unfortunately we can only keep, it's basketball, you can only keep like 22, 24. So we had a lot of cuts, but the growth of the program is you can see the steady growth.
And I saw they had a win.
Both boys and girls opened up their seasons with a win on Friday night, and wrestling had another really good turnout at
I saw that this
which
weekend.
Is tough. They ended up coming in 10th as a team, and I think there were 36 teams out there.
We had a first, right? We had one first? Yeah.
Yeah.
And softball field concerns.
I'm in as per Ms. Steen's direction, I'm going to try to find $8,000 in my budget. I'd like to put in a permanent fence at the softball field. We had that portable fence, but the wind tunnel down there has broken it in a lot of places, including the legs. So the fence itself is probably about $6,500, and then we put that yellow cap or a cap, safety cap on the top. And it's just the outfield fence. It's not all the way around.
Is that at the high school?
That's at the high school, yeah.
So that's a request for extracurricular, or?
Not until she finds the money in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And coaching equity.
One of the things I've noticed in speaking with Mr. Hurley is our coaches' salaries and the disparity between the sports. Meaning it's done on a year where each sport and level of coach is given a certain amount of units or assigned a certain amount of units. And I can use a good example where, obviously football is like 47 units. It's that years are added into those units, and it's multiplied by 110, which is probably the dollar amount associated to each kind of unit, right? So if you look at football, it might be 47. In fact, I brought some with me. If you look at boys soccer and girls soccer, I think it's 36, and then we go all the way down to like 12 for bowling and golf, which is kind of a bummer because bowling and golf, those are very successful sports here. It has to do with the amount of time that's put in, and I don't think any coach's time is more or less than anybody else's. So what I did was I asked some of the other schools that's similar in size. So I grabbed Twin Valley, I grabbed Conway Riser, and then just for funds I grabbed Governor Mifflin to look at how they calculate their salaries. They don't use a formula like that. Twin Valley, I think, probably had the best approach where it's broken off into kind of sections, meaning it might be a high collision impact sport, might have a higher salary. And there's 4 different sections. So you have football, if I could use that, and then you have lacrosse, baseball, softball, soccer, field hockey would be the next down. Third would be, say, like cross country, track, and cheerleading was in there, and then finally the last tier would have been like golf, and that's how they broke theirs up, and then they used percentages. I think actually Conrad Riser used percentages towards the head coach's salary. So I guess the question is I guess twofold. One, whether we look at the units assigned to those programs or to those coaches and review those, because these are all tied into the teaching. Yep. Or we look at a new model of doing it similar to what other schools do it, whether you break it up that way or you use the Conrad Weiser model, which was, it's all based on base salary working its way down. So if my base salary for football is $7,000 for the year as a head football coach, everything is a percentage of that going down. Similar to kind of how Twin Valley did it. And I brought those numbers for everybody too, if you want to see the differences in how the salaries work out. What I did was I broke it down, Daniel Boone, all the head coaches, and then I put some of the assistants down there so you can see how that breaks up. And I broke up what the same salary would be at Twin Valley and what the same salary would be at Conrad Weiser. And there's a pretty big disparity. And I think that goes to, we have some really great coaches here. And we all know we're not coaching high school sports or middle school sports for the salary. But we do want to be competitive. And one, it helps keep people. And two, it shows you that it shows us coaches that we are invested in them to stay and continue to coach our programs and grow our programs.
So currently the CBA goes on units plus their years in that position, times the 110.
Times 110. That's the breakdown.
Now there were some grandfathers, if you were coached before 97, 98, you were subject to a 6-year app.
Okay.
After 97,
Is there-
98, there is no app.
Do you have like written out, like, okay, so this is what they're paying the coaches?
Yep.
Do you have anything like with like their model?
Yes, I brought that. But I didn't bring
Copies.
copies.
Like, do any of them have a model, like, say, for example, I don't know, whatever, like,
This is the best one that I think it shows.
okay, so it's,
And then this would be Conrad Weiser's. I got numbers written on that one.
is there like a model where if they have like a certain winning season and end up going into like a,
postseason pay?
yeah,
Conrad Weiser does that in the back of theirs, I think.
Are you guys making a decision on what to do today, or
No.
are you, because if you run out of copies, you can just send me one in an email.
Oh, I can do that.
You know what I mean? We're not making a decision today.
Right, no.
If they go, currently for coaches go beyond an extended season, there is a prorated amount towards what their compensation. So if they, let's say a season's 12 weeks long, and they go a week beyond that, they get prorated that extra week, or if they go 2 weeks, it's prorated for the extra 2 weeks, and so on. That's per the CBA.
okay.
I was going to say something along the same lines. We can kind of piece this together if the board wants us to.
Yeah.
We have to obviously negotiate this in with CBA and rehearses.
Okay. So we're just talking about it right now. Okay. And our band cavalcade awards.
Yeah? That's on the list, but I don't know what it's about.
Oh, I don't have that on my list. Sorry. I didn't have that on my list.
Do you know?
Yes,
what-
I can.
You have it on your
Someone
list,
knows,
I can speak to that. Our band applications were very successful this fall, obviously.
Yes.
Some owners, they, I believe, in all the competitions, they won at least one different award, and just like to bring to the board's attention.
They're making
My
more than
understanding
Conrad Weiser.
from speaking to, we're getting bigger again. We actually are, we jumped 2 sizes this year, just like the Grinch. So we jumped 2 sizes in our band, the kids that we field for the marching band, and actually Ms. Oswald won a Best Music Director at one of the events, and we still are one of the smaller schools on the field, so for her to win Best Band Director at an event is pretty amazing.
Did we always have a small band, or is that?
No, well, it's a long story. So, for when my kids were in elementary school, if you wanted to be in the band at school, you had to also be in the marching band, and then we had over 100 students, because if you wanted to take band, in class, you had to be in the marching band. And they uncoupled that at some point, and our band size went down and down and down, like down into like the 70s. And then we got Mr. Gurman came here, and we started to see our numbers inch up a little bit again. And then we got another band director, and numbers started to go down. And then we got a brand new band director, Ms. Oswald, and then COVID hit. And so we had our numbers were getting, and I would go to events and see 10, 15 bands. And, Phoenixville and Downingtown, both of whom are, their band directors are former Boone band directors. Those were huge bands. And other schools that were even larger than us were fielding a band that was less than 40 kids. And so it just hit everyone. COVID hit everyone really badly. And so this year was the first year we had an uptick since Ms. Oswald's been here, but most of the year she's been here during COVID.
Have you seen an increase like at the elementary level, so it'll get bigger?
We are seeing more students from the middle school to the high school staying with band and joining marching band in the 8th grade. I don't know about those feeder programs in the elementary level, if we're having more kids do that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that I don't know.
So can we get an orchestra too?
Yeah, we've never had one. If any student who plays strings, FYI, can play with the string ensemble at the Reading Philharmonic Junior Orchestra, any student can play with them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yay, band.
Okay. Anything else? That's the end of the extracurricular at 7:20 p.m.